Hello children, in today's class we will learn another harmful effect of microorganisms. That is, microorganisms also spoil our food. You must have heard sometimes when we go for a party and we eat a variety of different types of foodstuff. After reaching home, we may suffer from stomach pain, or sometimes even a person may vomit many times, which may even lead to the death of a person. Why does it happen? Because either he must have consumed excess of food, oily food, or he must have consumed the food that was already spoiled by the microorganism. And this condition is said this condition happens due to food poisoning. Food poisoning is generally happening due to the consumption of food spoiled by some microorganisms. So when microorganisms attack our food, what happens? The food chemical composition will change. So spoiling of food is a chemical reaction. And food poisoning could be due to the consumption of food spoiled by some microorganisms, I said. So what is the chemical reaction taking place in that is that the food nutrients will be spoiled by the microorganism and it will produce certain toxic substance. Microorganisms will produce some toxic substance by growing in that food, and that toxic substances, if we are consuming them that means we are consuming the food which is already spoiled, that toxic substances will cause food poisoning to us. Sometimes even it may lead to the death of a person. So in that case, how can you or me or anybody take certain steps to preserve the different food items? So when you are preserving the food items means the food should be prevented from the attack of microorganisms, and also it should not lose its nutritive value. Nutritive value means the nutrients present in the food should not be lost. Their value should not be lost. They should retain their nutrient value, and that condition of keeping the food for longer period without getting spoiled and retaining of its nutrient value, that condition is called food preservation. What is food preservation? We understood processing of food to prevent their spoilage and to retain their nutritive value for longer period is called food preservation. So what are the different steps? Sometimes we use certain preservatives. Preservative means the items which can be used for preserving the food are called preservatives. For example, sugar, oil, acids, edible oil acids like vinegar, then salt, etc. are used as common preservatives. You can see we make pickles. Pickles can be kept for many years, many months, and sometimes even for years people can preserve the pickles because the pickles contain lot of salt and edible oil. This salt and edible oil does not allow the growth of microorganism. Thereby the pickle can be kept for longer period of time without getting its chemical composition changed, and it remains safe for us to consume. Similarly, sugar is also one of the common preservative. You can see jam, jellies, they contain lot of sugar. Due to the presence of sugar also, the moisture content will be reduced in the food, and when moisture is reduced, naturally it will stop the growth of bacteria in the food. Thereby the food can be preserved. Jams, jellies, squash, etc. are the substances which are preserved by addition of excess of sugar. Similarly, you can see salt. I said one example, pickle. Second example, you can see sometimes we have seen in the market some food items are preserved in salt, like that of dry meat, dry fish, etc. are preserved in excess of salt after removing the moisture content. That food, meat or fish, etc. will be first dried and the moisture content of the food will be reduced. In that we are adding much amount of salt. When salt is added, what happens? The growth of microorganisms does not take place. So thereby the food can be preserved. Similarly, tamarind, gooseberries, raw mangoes, etc. for making pickles, or similarly putting them in the salt also, we can keep them preserved. Some other chemical preservatives are also there. Other than that, we have common preservatives, oil and vinegar. Oil and vinegar. This oil and vinegar is a acid. The chemical name of vinegar is acetic acid. And edible oils, they also prevent the spoilage of food items. That's why in pickles and all, we add much amount of oil or sometimes even acetic acid, that is we call it as vinegar. So these all will preserve the food items from the attack of microbes, and the food can be preserved. Some other chemical preservatives are sodium metabisulfite and sodium benzoate. Sodium metabisulfite and sodium benzoate are two chemical preservatives used for preserving so many food items. These preservatives will not allow the microbes to grow in that particular food stuff, and the food will remain free from the attack of microbes. Second method here given is heat and cold treatment. Heat and cold treatment. So when we heat the food or when you keep the food at low temperature, the growth of microorganisms will not take place very easily, because high temperature and low temperature both will not allow the growth of microbes. Most of the microbes cannot survive in high temperature as well as low temperature. That's why to preserve the food items, any food which you have cooked, you can heat it and keep it, or you can preserve it in your refrigerator where the temperature is very, very low. So boiling kills many germs. That's why we say drink the water after boiling. When you boil the water, the germs present in the water will be killed. Similarly, certain food items like that of cooked food items or vegetables, fruits, etc. we keep in our refrigerator where the temperature is very, very low. Low temperature also inhibits the growth of microbes. So in that way we can see high temperature preservation is done even for milk. That method of preserving the milk by heating and then cooling it, that method is called pasteurization. Pasteurization is a method where the milk will be boiled so that the germs or microbes present in it will be killed, and then the milk will be boiled up to 70 degrees centigrade for 15 to 30 seconds, and then suddenly chilling it and storing. In that way we are killing the germs and preserving the milk. This process of preserving the milk is called pasteurization. You can see milk is available to us in packets. You can see Nandini dairy milk, you have seen that comes in packet. That milk is preserved. You can keep it. It is pasteurized. So we can keep that milk for 1 or 2 days without boiling also. So in that way we can say the growth of microorganisms will be stopped when the milk is pasteurized for 1 or 2 days. So in that way we are preserving the milk. This method of preserving the milk is called pasteurization. It is discovered by a scientist called as Louis Pasteur. On his name only, this process of preserving the milk is called pasteurization. Another method is given here, third method, storage and packing. So when we are storing and packing, the food item should be free from moisture. That food item should be dried. For example, you can say fruits. Certain fruits like dry fruits, you must have heard, almonds, cashew nuts, grapes, dry grapes, etc. What they do, they will dry them, they will remove the moisture content. So in complete dry form, these food items can be preserved. So dry fruits, vegetables, etc. can be sold in the market by storing in airtight packets to prevent the attack of microbes. In that way we are preserving these food items for some some days. So here we have seen one scientist. You can identify this person shown in this slide is Louis Pasteur, who has discovered the process of pasteurization. So here it is explained the milk is heated to about 70 degrees centigrade for 15 to 30 seconds and then suddenly chilling and storing. This method of preservation of milk is called pasteurization. So today I will meet up here children. In the next class we will continue. That is about nitrogen fixation. Thank you.